and welcome back. So today we're going to do this a little bit differently. We're going to do a voiceover on this particular one with it just being sped up. What we wanted to do is just test out some paper, and so we tried the photo paper and we went ahead and printed some stuff on them. We did 2 flower versions and a fern. So you're going to see all 3 of those in these videos. Right now, here's the first one. And this is going to utilize the stamping technique that we have talked about in some other videos with the rubber kneaded eraser. And then just put ink over in the dish, picked it up, pushed it onto the paper, and just kind of seeing how each technique reacts with the photo paper, because we've never done that. Turns out that it is somewhere kind of in between using both the Yupo and then the paper that we usually end up making, which is with the Mod Podge. So you can see just kind of stamping around, and these turned out the green was a bit bright. You'll see that at some point there we put in some Dandelion just to kind of bring it back some, and again later on we did the same thing with some other colors. Here's the second version, which is kind of probably a little bit more what we see with people doing the alcohol inks, which was applying the ink directly, not stamping or anything like that, and then just using paintbrush and kind of working it around. Probably a little overworked. I personally really like how it turned out in the end, but again, a little bit different. Some things to kind of keep in mind with utilizing this photo paper is that you're going to get some of that ghosted image that was originally printed there if you pre-print something. But if you put some of these darker colors and the more layers and things that you get on there, you won't really see much of it. But you can. So something just to kind of, depending on what you're trying to achieve, it does some cool things. And really, you could kind of even use it maybe as guidelines, that sort of thing, almost maybe kind of coloring book-ish if you wanted to just print an image and then ink over it. That seemed to work pretty well. And then you can see here just doing some different techniques, like with the woofer blower thing and more brushwork. It was also very interesting to see how the white, the snow cap, reacted after applying some of the darker colors and then coming back. Did you see like it kind of pushed out and almost looked iridescent? Now here are the ferns. This one was probably one of the bigger transformations, and you saw there at the beginning I kind of did an overview of everything that once, like the state that it's in. Just know that if you ever see it online, it probably won't be the same, because that's just how things work around here. And so here you'll see some more of the little woofer thing. One of the things to keep in mind when you're dropping directly onto this photo paper, it soaked in those green dots. The darker, I believe that was Clover that was used in that particular part, but it soaked in and it stayed. So you have to be very, very leery of that, I guess, unless that's what you want. Then it would work perfectly. I think probably if we're going to do this, if I were doing one of these, I would probably go in and just do a lot of brushwork. I think that you just have more control over it. Especially if you're trying to kind of fill in an image. I could see this working really well for printing out an image, filling in the color, then even maybe cutting it out. But that's more my style. So here you can see a lot of it running, which was really cool. And some of that was probably going to be something to use as a technique going forward. But that's basically it, and hopefully you've kind of enjoyed this. It's been a different experience, and of course, you know, there's my mom waiting for it to all dry, and she's doodling with some of the stuff in the background there, waiting for things, and now chuckling in the background as well, because she didn't want to do this. She has plans for that. We do. Don't worry. Nothing. Okay, this was also a really cool technique. So some paper arrived, used the plastic bag, did a stamping technique with what was left within the purple palette. And that really turned out to be pretty cool. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, we're back. This is what I was working on at the end of the other video. And as you can see, it's changed dramatically. And as well it should. Mostly what I had on it that you saw the last time was just various colors of greens and yellows. And then at the very end of the video, I took a crumpled up piece of saran wrap that was on some paper packing, crumpled it up just randomly, and did some stamping on it with what was left over in my plate from when I did the flowers. So it was a mixture of the
Purple, white,
amethyst, snow cap, a little bit of the extender, I think, and of course alcohol. And then that's what I used to stamp these images on here, and you can still see a little bit of that original color there. So then once I started working with the leaves, I outlined them with the small Posca marker, and and then tried to add some variety to the leaves at the place where the leaves overlaps to sort of indicate where the leaves are. Then I decided, well, there's some places here that I don't want those leaves. So what I attempted to do was to come in and go around that area, the green, with a complementary color. In this case, it was the watermelon. And I still have some of that over here in the dish. Then as I was taking it out, it kept filming up, and I don't know if this, I can't tell on the camera if that's really showing up. That kind of filmy area, I was very unhappy, so I went back in and went over it again. And the same thing happened, and I thought, well, what is up with this? So I was really disgusted. I left it alone, and I just touched one area, and it was like, oh my gosh, that comes off. So I just made a little burnishing tool out of a dried out marker, and I just gently rubbed around that area, and voila, look at that. It comes off. Just need to be gentle and do kind of a circular motion, and you can get all of that filmy stuff to come off. Now, that being said, okay, so on the leaves, I thought, well, if that works there, maybe I can get it to do something down here on the leaves. So I did. Watch this. It's just absolutely remarkable, because then I'm starting to get back some of that nice, clear, beautiful color, and I can take out just as much of that as I want or don't want. But it really helps establish that spot of differentiation between the leaves when you have that nice contrast. Okay, I think you get the idea about that. It does, it comes off, it's lovely, and I'm hoping to be able to go ahead and do that again in the very near future and plan on it, rather than having it just be something that, it's randomly. And even if I do lose some of my lines, which I have in a couple places up here, and before I come back in with my marker, I just want to clean that up just ever so slightly. And again, you just kind of keep rubbing around, and it will come off. Now I will re-establish my line there, but I'm for video purposes, I'm not going to do that right now. I want to talk about one other thing that you can do. Okay, I've laid out these alcohol markers by Firefly. They're really wonderful, and they're wonderful when you don't want a lot of wet on something. Now, you see this number 59 here? I'm liking that. And what's also nice is they have the broad chisel edge, and they also have the fine tipped edge. And I'm going to come in here and just kind of clean up a few little spots, get a little bit of bright back in there. Can you see what that's doing? Because one of the things that really bothers me about people that do green is they just make green. And very rarely do you find just plain green. If you pick up a leaf, you will find at least 3 different colors of green on just one leaf. So this just gives you some variety, gives you some more control than you would have if you otherwise went in. I don't like this spot right here. It's way too green, doesn't go with the rest of it. Way too dull. And then, voila, got that. All right, there's one little spot that bothers me, and I want to talk a little bit about complementary colors, which is what I have going on here. And in my little dish here, I have some different inks. Let me see, what is it? I think I put in Limade, and my favorite, citrus. Those are kind of nice. What I'm going to try to do is get rid of some of this really powsy-wowsy orange here. And you can see what happens there. You still see a little bit of it, but it's not screaming at you. And this area here that heads out of the corner, I'm going to just use a little bit to kind of head that off a little bit, dull it down just ever so slightly, and blend it out. Now, one thing I've really noticed about the difference between this paper, the photo paper, is when you put down a color, boy, it really, you can really see the lines. So you have to keep that in mind and move along rather rapidly. All right, I think that's turning out to be, that area there is very nice. It's not headed off the paper. I do still like this kind of area here. And I will go ahead and work some more on the leaves. And when I get finished, we'll post a finished post of this whole process. Thank you.